What causes way more deaths than people are aware of? Neglect in nursing homes. This is true and very sad. I had a sister who was special needs. She never could walk or talk. She was fed through a tube in her stomach, including water. When my father became ill and could no longer care for her, we put her in a home. They didn't give her enough water and she ended up in the hospital. She got better and we moved her to a different home, both in nice areas. The same thing happened again. She didn't get enough water, but could never recover the second time. She passed in the hospital. It was a brutal time for everyone. It would be nice if the US had a better safety net for people like my sister, but the fact of the matter is very little/none of that in reality. Pediatrician here, I see this all the time and it's terrible. Lots of these homes let medically fragile kids get critically ill or die due to a combination of understaffing, not understanding the kids' illnesses, and the fact that a lot of those kids don't have anyone to depend on or advocate for them. And of course people think the answer is getting child services involved and taking the kids away, but unfortunately, taking those kids away from bad homes is how so many of them ended up in these facilities anyway. I worked as a janitor for a nursing home back in 2020, and the single hardest part of that job was relaying a patient's request to the nurse only to have them do nothing. It sucked having to walk back to a patient's room and finish cleaning without a nurse coming to aid them. That job sucked for a lot of reasons, but that helplessness was the worst by far. I was placed in a nursing home at 33 after having bilateral CD, core decompression of the femoral head, and couldn't heal safely at the farm I lived on. The abuse was horrific. The food alone was enough to make a person ill, definitely insufficient for nutrients anyway. I was the youngest person, so therefore the only internet savvy. They begged me to reach out to their family and the local community via Facebook to highlight the abuse they endured. Nurses turned off call buttons at night instead of helping patients, different dosages of Rx depending on the nurse, not changing the residents, no sanitation services including showers or toilet help. I contacted the ombudsman and director of the facility. I was told to not post without running it by the director, and definitely not about patrons. These folks gave me permission. Nothing changed. I left AMA, against medical advice. They tried to gouge my insurance by charging thousands of Rx that they didn't give me, or gave me incorrectly. I fucking hate facilities like that. I meant to go back after I escaped, but I was so distraught I just couldn't. I eventually had a full hip replacement and healed in an apartment far away from them. Ugh. Fuck that whole time. I'm 37 now, BTW. Hat's fucking awful on every level. If I have to speculate here, I'd say it's possible those extra Rx costs on your bill were from nurses chugging the pills themselves then using your insurance to cover it up. I've heard of that happening a few times. There was even a tragic story in Australia where a nurse who was stealing painkillers set the place on fire and killed 11 people, then acted like a hero in front of the media when they showed up to report on the blaze. This industry needs to do better at rooting out these people, but I guess profit is more important than human lives to these people. There's a podcast I listened to recently about a nurse at a fertility clinic stealing drugs meant to be used on women undergoing a pretty invasive egg retrieval procedure and replacing it with saline solution so she could shoot it up. Dozens of women felt an extreme amount of pain after being told they'd feel nothing because they were given saline instead of opioids, and then the clinic made them feel like somehow it was their own fault for being in pain. The clinic in question is run by Yale. It's called The Retrievals for anyone curious. A super good podcast. Tripping. On average, around 17,000 people a year in the US die from injuries incurred after tripping and falling. A friend of mine missed a step at party and clocked her head. Full-on concussion, a month of coming back to full ability. Wasn't even drinking or anything. Just whoops and light brain damage, almost death, etc. It was really sobering. It's that easy. A girl I went to high school with tripped at work and hit her head on a filing cabinet. She said that she felt fine, then later that night she didn't feel good, so she went to the hospital. I'm not clear about what happened medically, since all of my info is secondhand, but she died. It was absolutely shocking. Sounds like brain hemorrhaging. I used to work overnights. The mornings where I would arrive home and not remember the drive at all were pretty scary. I was generally pretty good at stopping for a quick nap if I was too tired, but occasionally autopilot took over. Once I was really tired and parked at a gas station to sleep, and when I woke up, it took a few minutes to remember how I got there, and before I did, I wondered how I had parked properly and not made a hole in the building. Another time, I stopped at a church parking lot to sleep and I woke up scared because of the sound of traffic on the road I had been on and started pushing the brake pedal and thinking that I had gone into the oncoming lane. This is why, when I have to nap in the car, I'll sleep in the back, so I don't get used to falling asleep in the driver's seat. Lost a classmate less than a decade after graduating due to this. Lost my best friend and very nearly his fiancée during college when he was driving home after finals and fell asleep behind the wheel. Seriously, just don't do it. Or if you have to, and you feel at all drowsy, pull over and take a nap or something else that works for you. Unless you're in California, then that's breaking the law. It's against the law to pull over and take a nap? Yep. Death by strangulation has increased 90% in the last decade. PSA to anyone reading this, that your partner strangling you is the main indicator that they will murder you in the future. I'm talking about domestic abuse here, not consensual choking as a kink. I.e., if your partner attacks and strangles you, they are statistically much more likely to eventually murder you. If your partner abuses you, leave. But if they strangle you, no, leaving should be much more urgent, as it's likely you'll be murdered in the future. Form a safe exit plan and leave. If you're a woman, a women's shelter can help you make a safe exit plan, as leaving is statistically the most dangerous time for you. This website has resources for forming a safe exit plan and isn't gender specific. Actress Dominique Dunn from Poltergeist was murdered by her boyfriend John Thomas Sweeney via strangulation when she was 22 years old. The boyfriend only did like 3 years in prison and then got out and moved on with his life. He was a chef at a restaurant, and Dominique's family stood outside protesting the restaurant and notifying people that the chef killed their daughter/sister. I think he changed his name and tried to disappear and start a new life, but he could possibly still be alive today. He would be in his mid or late 60s. Please like and subscribe for more daily content. I publish new videos daily, otherwise please feel free to check out another video. Thanks for watching.